Good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Kinsey, and I'm calling from the Strive Group in Anchorage, Alaska, and welcome to our daily webinars. Today's topic is business liability. Tomorrow's session is distance meeting management, and then Thursday's session is regarding cybersecurity. We are doing these every weekday, and you can check out thestrivegroup.com for our daily programming. For you joining us live, there is a chat pod on your right-hand side, and if you want to type in questions for our subject matter expert today, please do so. I will hop back onto the webinar and ask those questions to Jack on your behalf. If you are watching this as a recording, obviously you've missed the opportunity for a live Q&A with Jack, but you haven't missed your opportunity for getting in touch with Jack. The very last slide of this presentation is his contact information, and you are welcome to send an email to either him directly or to us at info@thestrivegroup.com, and we will get that question routed to Jack, and he can contact you directly. So again, my name is Heather Kinsey, and I am with the Strive Group, but with us today is Jack Grieco with RISQ Consulting. And I'll just disable my camera and disable my microphone and let Jack take it away. Thanks, Jack.
Hi, my name is Jack Grieco. I don't normally work from home, and I don't know if you heard a moment ago, some bells were ringing, and that was my dog telling me it was time to go outside, so I had to disable his bells so we can get on with things. But at RISQ Consulting, we provide risk management, insurance, bonding, and employee benefits services throughout Alaska. I wanted to share some of the information we developed as questions arose over the past few weeks. Many businesses are looking for ways to survive the pandemic. Looking to your business insurance policy is one direction. I wanted to address some of the questions that we've been asked, and I also wanted to provide some help on cash flow during this difficult time. We were all very happy to see the stimulus package was passed recently, which allows small businesses under 500 employees to get some cash inflows. We've also seen some changes in the last week where insurance companies, insurance associations, and restaurant associations have created programs to help with the financial burden. To get started, a lot of questions we get revolve around business interruption. And the important thing to remember with business interruption is from a coverage standpoint, is what triggers the coverage. Most policy language says that damage or loss to the building triggers coverage for business interruption. You know, building damage can result from fire, automobiles, windstorm, or other perils that are not excluded by the policy. At this point, we do not know how carriers will respond to claims from the coronavirus shutdowns. We can anticipate that there may be a few different reactions from the carriers. They could agree to trigger coverage that the property damage has resulted or would have resulted. Or two, they could agree to provide coverage as part of an overall federal backstop for business interruption loss that has resulted from COVID-19. Or they could deny any claim that there is no trigger for coverage under the insurance agreement and rely on certain exclusions that could exist in your policy. We have submitted claims to our carriers, and we're seeing a variety of responses, but no one has said no yet, but there are a lot of questions to be answered. A number of states, including New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Ohio, have proposed legislation to require insurance companies to provide coverage. The problem with that is that the numbers in order to pay these claims would probably be in the neighborhood of $200 to $300 billion a month for these companies to pay out in order to cover the losses that small businesses are seeing. You know, the White House and congressional leaders have met with the insurance industry to address business interruption issues, and I think that may have coordinated some of the efforts where they're going to do things voluntarily with the federal government. Our recommendation is that you contact your broker for advice on possible claims. Some policies have short reporting periods where you can't go too long before you make a claim, 30, 60, 90 days, and a delay could affect your coverage. Filing a claim should include the broadest language to encourage the insurance company to look at all possible coverage solutions. Here's one example we found. Please accept this formal notification that our company is filing a claim for business interruption and extra expense coverage as a result of a civil order and direct physical injury to property that has resulted or could have resulted from COVID-19 and/or the government mandated closure for our operations. In addition, we are claiming coverage for any crisis coverage available through excess policies or elsewhere. We will be filing a complete proof of loss when appropriate. In the meantime, we will file a partial proof of loss as to our ordinary payroll, fringe benefits, operating expenses, and some extra expenses in order to obtain a partial advance payment. Please immediately provide the name and the adjuster assigned to our claim, as well as their contact information and the claim coverage. Another question that comes up has to do with civil authority and how that affects coverage. Do you remember the Swan Lake fire last year and how that interrupted our summer? There was smoke that made it impossible to drive or run your business. There were road closures that kept families and tourists from their destinations. Just like businesses impacted by COVID-19 today, many businesses on the Kenai Peninsula had a loss of income from this fire and the road closure. Many of them received loss of income payments because of the smoke and closures, even though their buildings suffered no damage. While we do not know what insurance companies will do, there might be some coverage because every policy is different and the policy language will determine the outcome. So on the next slide.
Jack, before we advance, there's a question from the audience. It's more like a combination observation question. So
Sure.
The viewer writes, it seems this is not just a small business issue. Are both large and small businesses going to be affected in the same way regarding the business interruption topic that you're on?
Yes, I would say that this does apply to all size businesses that have business interruption insurance. The thing to remember is that all policies can have different wording in them, and the insurance company is the one that makes the final decision. So if you believe that you have a coverage under your policy, I would suggest that you make the claim to your carrier and then move forward from there and try to work with them to get a payment made out on your policy. And your broker can help you with that. The size of your business doesn't matter when it comes to the insurance part. That really was just referring to what the government stimulus package was of 500 or less employees. So it's same for businesses large and small.
Got it. Okay. And then I have a question for you. The narrative that you wrote or that you read as a suggestive narrative when you're filing your business interruption claim, should businesses look towards their broker, someone like you, to help them draft similar narrative to ensure that the claim is looked at in the broad way that you're suggesting?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. We have quite a bit of experience dealing with claims and adjusters and things, and that wording was suggested just to prompt that, because you may overlook something, and you want to make sure the adjuster tries to look down every avenue for payment and coverage.
Excellent. Thanks.
Right.
I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to pop back off. I'll pop back on when there's a question.
Okay. In the liability arena, general liability specifically, questions have come up about whether the policy will cover for allegations where you were said to be negligent regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. This really will depend on how the complaint or the suit is filed. Upon receipt of any complaint or suit, you need to please just get a hold of your agent to file the claim, or get it to your carrier as soon as possible. Especially if there's a suit, there's a limited amount of time in order to respond to the courts. Policies, of course, have limitations and exclusions that could affect coverage. The more time you give the carriers, the better. But they'll do everything on a case-by-case basis. As far as protecting your company from such allegations, I think what I've been seeing with some of the restaurants around town, changing the format of how business is being done. Of course, there's no table seating now, but you want to make sure that you do what you can to protect your employees and your customers by, some places have put markers on the floors at 6-foot spaces, so it's a reminder to stay apart. Others are doing things with credit card systems where it's outside the window and the card isn't touched by anybody but the client or the patron. So I think if you can do those things to separate yourself, then you will do the most that you can to protect yourself against any type of a suit from that. The next issue to talk about is workers' compensation.
Jack, before you answer that question, we have another question from the audience. It's a clarification question on protecting themselves from allegations. And the question reads, if I follow the CDC and/or state guidelines for businesses that are remaining open, would that be enough to protect me from any injury or illness that either guests or employees suffer while in my business?
I don't think I can truly answer that question based on my experience and where things can go. I would just have to say that my experience has been, one, you can be sued for anything at any time when you're in business, and some things seem very ridiculous, but and you shouldn't have been sued, but it happens more often than not. Secondly, if you do everything you're supposed to do, you still can't stop something bad from happening. Accidents happen. I think what we're seeing here with this pandemic is that anybody can catch it. If you do everything you can to protect yourself and your clients and your employees, I think that you have to do that. But there are no guarantees in this life. Nobody really expected this to happen. As a little bit of a segue, there was a company, probably the largest insurance brokerage in the world, was selling insurance just for this type of operation. And their market, their clients that they were talking to were professional sports teams, the NFL, NBA, baseball, all of that, large casinos. And they were selling pandemic coverage. No one bought it. No one could believe that something like this could happen. And what they were selling was coverage for just this situation for loss of income on a more of a global scale. But even those large companies didn't buy it, and they've lost billions of dollars. So
Right.
I don't think none of us could have believed this would happen. I mean, just unfathomable.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. On workers' compensation, will my employees be covered if they contract the COVID-19 virus at work? With workers' comp, it's set up to cover employees who are accidentally injured on the job, and it was put together to protect employers from lawsuits after the Industrial Revolution started, and employees would sue when they got injured at work. And then to protect employers, they came up with these state acts that would provide workers' compensation. And it all comes back to, was there an injury from an accident at work? And it has to be tied back to a day and a time. And of course, with an illness, there is no date or time. No one really knows when they catch an illness that would trigger the coverage. The only possible exceptions to this could be like first responders, fire and police, and healthcare providers, because they're exposed on a daily basis where some of us would not be. But even those are by exception. Only North Dakota has expanded coverage to cover those people directly. Anyone else catching this virus really needs to look to their health insurance policy for coverage and help on that. Will workers' comp pay for air ambulances if my employees contract COVID-19 at a remote work site, such as the North Slope or other rural community? We have received a number of requests about air ambulance coverage for employers with workers in remote areas like the North Slope. If an employee is accidentally injured on the job, air ambulance is paid for. The work comp carrier is going to pay for that as part of the treatment plan. But if your employee gets sick, health insurance is really going to be the primary source of funding for an air ambulance. But that's going to be subject to deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. And air ambulances, from what I'm told, run from $50,000 to $100,000. So if you have to pay 10% of that, that could be a significant amount. We are aware of 2 air ambulance memberships available in Alaska that will provide service for an annual membership fee. One is $49, that's Life Med, and then the other one is Air Med Alaska, which is $125. You might want to look on their sites, because we recommend that you and your employees join, one of these services. Personally, I've been a member for years because of, outdoor activities. I do a lot of snow machining in Alaska, a little bit of fishing and camping and stuff. So these are there all the time for you or your family if you sign up. If you think about it, how many times do you find yourself far from a hospital in Alaska? These air services will be there when you need them, whether it's an auto accident or any other accident requiring an ambulance. Some other things I wanted to talk about has to do with, paying your premium and cash flows. And it seems like now is a time that we're all strapped for money because of, revenues are dropping, clients are not coming by. So is there things that you can do to help yourself? And I think, there are some options for general liability and workers' comp to do like a review of the revenue and the payroll estimates. Many of the general liability policies are rate premium on revenue or payroll, and none of us, thought about this happening, 3 months or more in the past when we renewed policies or wrote policies. So what you really want to do is take your a general liability policy and open it up to the liability schedule. And that schedule will show you, a description of your class of operations and the estimated payroll or revenues that your policy was charged based upon. And look at those and decide, are they 20% higher than would be now, 30, 50? Take a look, make a decision, and then call your agent and ask them to make a reduction of those estimates. You don't have to wait until the final audit to do this. You can make some changes now, and that will either give you a refund, or if you're on a payment plan, it'll reduce your payments going forward. You just don't have to wait for the final audit. Workers' compensation policies operate on the same estimate basis. Take a look at your policy schedule and your workers' comp. Are your estimates too high? Calculate new estimates. Ask your agent to make the changes. This is going to lower your premiums and monthly payments and help you with your cash flow. Recently, the state of Alaska Department of Insurance released a bulletin that limited the ability of insurance carriers to cancel policies for late payments. And they've extended this until the 1st of June, which would prohibit insurance carriers from making a cancellation on your policy. In the end, you'll still have to make the payments, but it will be later in the policy term. One thing to consider on this is if you're with a premium finance company, you will probably have to talk to them directly about any payment help on that area because they're not an insurance company. Most of the ones have agreed that they would look at things on a case-by-case basis and help you through this tough time. Are there any grants or loans available to help you? Well, as we're all probably aware now, the SBA has the programs available for small business under 500 employees. They are offering grants, payroll assistance, and very low interest loans. Please look into them or contact your accountant. I've been told that most of the banks are also helping their customers file for these loans. The property casualty insurance industry has joined a broad business coalition in supporting and crafting. Oh, question?
No, you go ahead. You finish that, and then I'll ask a question that just came in.
Okay. The property casualty insurance industry has gotten together with the federal government. They also will be putting together a support for businesses during this time of quarantine and stay-at-home measures. It's going to be called the COVID-19 Business and Employee Continuity and Recovery Fund. I'll be looking for more details on that myself. So, question?
That was a mouthful. So yes, we have a question from a viewer. I'm going to read it specifically because I think you'll get a kick out of it. As wait, what? Question mark, question mark. I can change my policy midway through. So that clearly is about the first question on this slide. What can I do if I estimated higher payrolls or revenues? So what you're saying is that you don't have to wait. You can just call your broker and ask them to reevaluate. Is that what just to clarify, is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why I brought it up, because most of our clients aren't aware of that. Sometimes we'll know something is going on and we'll ask them about it. And this is probably one of those situations. I've actually contacted a lot of clients about the same thing and kind of put the thought in their ear, but everything is based on estimates when it comes to liability and workers' comp. And so if those estimates are going to be lower, then you could take advantage of this time to make that change. You know, we've been very fortunate here for the last 8 or 9 years in Alaska, and most businesses have been growing. Even though with the little decline we had last year with the economy, a lot of businesses still did well. But now I would say that probably a majority of businesses are going to be able to look at a reduction because of this. Wow,
that's really good information. So save that for the last slide. You saved the best for last, Jack.
Well, I had to find some good news, and it was not easy to find.
Yeah, it is definitely an unsettling time. Well, I will just pop on in with a little bit of housekeeping here, and then I'll let you say goodbye to our viewers. But again, my name was Heather Kinsey, and these are our daily webinars here at the Strive Group. You can visit thestrivegroup.com for our schedule. We have programming up until the end of April. We plan on doing daily webinars throughout May as well. So feel free to visit our website for more topics. If you have an idea for a topic, or if you have specific questions for the subject matter expert who is already on the schedule, feel free to email those to info@thestrivegroup.com, and I will either find a subject matter expert to offer a webinar on that topic, or I'll direct that question directly to an already identified subject matter expert so he or she can answer your questions online. I'd like to thank all of the viewers who joined us live, and for those of us who joined us via the playback, which will be available in about 5 minutes on our website. And my parting words, as I'm trying to say every day, is strive for positivity, you know, look for the silver lining, look for opportunity. These are unsettling times for all of us, but we can do this. We can stick together as business leaders and as managers and bring our teams forward as well. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you to Jack. Up on the slide, you'll see Jack's the name of his business, the services they provide, his direct contact information, and feel free to email him directly if you'd like to. I'm sure he'd be happy to help. And I'll go ahead and sign off, but Jack, you can take it away, say goodbye to our viewers, and thanks again for your time and your talent.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to do this webinar. I'd like to thank everybody who listened in and asked questions. And if you have anything else, feel free to ask us. We'd be more than happy to help you out. And I hope everything is well with you and your families. Thank you.